Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Crime Time. Good afternoon, good afternoon. We're here with the Crime Time duo, but we're both on the stage. So hello, hello.
I love that you've come out from behind the curtain, Margaret. This is just so great. All of us who love Crime Time and all of you in the comments, it's so nice to see you. All of us have gotten to know you over the past 5 years that we've been doing this. We know your wit and we know your humor and we know your wisdom. We know your intelligence. We know that you know more about all the books that we focused on Crime Time than anyone. You've read all the reviews and done all the research. So I'm really honored to be able to chat with you today, that we can talk together on this very auspicious day here on Crime Time.
Yeah, coming off a great Labor Day weekend, we're here to talk about, I don't know, something that might be happening next week, next Tuesday. And I'm not talking about Dan Brown. So
Dan Brown has a new book coming out next Tuesday. Yes, I know that. And I have taught you all that when you hear about Dan Brown's new book, you say, oh, yes, Dan
Hank
Brown
Phillippi
has a new
Ryan.
book. Yes, that Hank Phillippi Ryan has a new book coming out on the very same day, September the 9th. All This Could Be Yours, my 16th thriller. And Margaret and I cooked up this scheme that we would give you all such an advance look at the book, because we have all been together for all these months and weeks and years here on Crime Time, and it is really a treat to get to see you all.
Right. And usually Hank opens and we've got all this housekeeping to go through. But I mean, you guys know the Mighty Blaze story. So we'll just quickly say that's how we met. Obviously, we got connected with this group of volunteers that were helping to boost people's books on book tour. The new release is coming out. And since Hank has a new release, I'm going to ask her to introduce herself as if we don't know her and say, hey, what are the pertinent bio details that you want to draw out for everyone that might be new to people today?
Isn't it so funny? Because this is the time usually I say, let me tell you a little bit about our author. And I have their bio printed out, as you all well know. Hey, Laura, nice to see you today. And I have their bio printed out. So I'm not going to read my own bio. And Margaret's not going to read my bio. She's known me for years, and who knows what she would tell you about me. I started out, in 1970 as a radio reporter in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I got my first job in broadcasting by I had worked in politics before that. I had worked in Washington D.C. on Capitol Hill and worked for Rolling Stone magazine. But I got my first job in radio by going into the news director's office in Indianapolis, the biggest radio station in Indianapolis, and I said, I'm here to apply for a job as a reporter. And the news director said, well, that's great. Have you ever been a reporter? And I said, no. He said, I mean, a radio reporter. And I said, no. And he said, well, have you ever been a television reporter or, any kind of magazine reporter or newspaper reporter or any kind of journalist in any way? And I said, well, no. And he said, well, have you ever gone to journalism school? And like, no. Now you have to remember this was 1970, and I marched into the biggest radio station in Indianapolis and applied for a job. And I was really unqualified for this job, but I wanted to be a reporter. Back in 1970, I realized that what I wanted to do in life was change the world, was to leave a mark and make a difference and have some kind of a legacy and do good for the world. And I thought journalism was the way to do this. So this news director soon realizes that I have no experience whatsoever in broadcasting. None. Hi, Sharon. Hey, Julie. None. And he finally says, you seem like a very nice young woman, and I probably could teach you how to be a reporter, but I really don't have time to. And he said, so can you just give me one good reason why I should hire you? Because you are supremely unqualified for this job. Can you just tell me one good reason why I should hire you? And I said,
oh my gosh, pressure's on.
I know. I said, well, yes, I can. I can give you a good reason to hire me. I said, your license is up for renewal at the Federal Communications Commission right now, and you don't have any women working here.
Oh.
And I just smiled, and the next my first job in broadcasting. So that's how it all started. Now, I'll tell you that I do not recommend being a potential employer with a federal lawsuit on the first day of your job interview.
Wow.
It will not work for you. But it was 1970, and it did work for me. And I'm really proud to be part of this sort of breaking the gender barrier in broadcasting. Jane Pauley calls us the class of 1970. Jane Pauley and Barbara Walters and Jessica Savage.
Wow.
We all started at the same time, and we all essentially got our jobs because we were women. But the thing I learned that, and I've essentially been a reporter every day since then. You know, I worked at Channel 7.
That hat you don't take off.
It is a hat I don't take off. Well, you know, it's interesting because that day in Indianapolis at the radio station, I was brave. You know, that was ridiculous for me to walk and ask for a job for which I was supremely unqualified. That was the news director's word. But
the brass on that one. Yeah.
You know, and I think about that a lot, the bravery of just going in and asking for something, because what can happen? Somebody can say no. And I thought, nobody's going to say no to me. I'm going to do this. It was completely naive.
Wow.
But I'm sort of the poster child for following your dreams. And I just sort of went for it. And I took a chance that day. And I found my calling. As I said, I've been a reporter ever since, in radio for, a year, and then in television for the past 43 years. I've been an investigative reporter. I wired myself with hidden cameras and confronted corrupt politicians and chased down criminals and gone undercover and in disguise and won 37 Emmys for investigative reporting and true crime coverage. So, you know, when I was a little,
but you felt like you needed a little something more, and so you started a whole other career, right?
Well, there is that. You know, it's an interesting story, Margaret, because I'm seeing so many people here. This is so nice. Laura is here, and Sue Street, and Randy, and Renee is here, and Betty Fellows. This is Kathy Lanigan. So nice to see you all. Susie Baldwin, love, love, love. Nice to see you all. Come say hi to all of you when we're finished talking. But it's really, when I was little, and I'll tell the story if you like later, but I knew that I wanted to be a mystery author or maybe a detective. You know, I wanted to be Poirot and Miss Marple, but I thought it might be cooler to be Poirot or be Miss Marple. And so it's really fun that after all those years as an investigative reporter, which really is being a detective in every way, that when I was 55, so 20 years ago, when I was 55, I had a good idea for a novel. And Margaret, I knew that it was a good idea. You know how you feel when you have a good idea and you just think, oh, this is going to work. You know, I get goosebumps telling you about it. And I went home and I said to my husband, sweetheart, I've got a good idea. I'm going to write a novel. And Jonathan says, great, honey.
Did he say in what time? In what spare time? Or
no, but no, what he did say, what he did say was, do you know how to write a novel? And which was wise of him, And I said, I profoundly remember, I said, how hard can it be?
How hard can it be?
I wrote a million books. But it was really, I mean, talk about a poster child for following your dreams. You know, this is something that I was just obsessed with. And I worked every minute of every day that I had open. I worked at nights and weekends, and we had no vacations. Ellen says, Hank Phillippi Ryan. Well, look at it that way. You know, every one of those Emmy awards on the wall represents a secret that somebody didn't want me to tell. A secret
that's a really great way to look at it. Yeah.
That I uncovered and that I made public, and that was fixed as a result. I mean, we've gotten 5 new laws have been changed as a result of my stories. You know, I've gotten people out of prison and sent people to prison and gotten millions of dollars in refunds and restitution for consumers. I've gotten people's homes out of unfair foreclosure, gotten people their homes back. And so that is true crime. That is really making a difference in the world. And that was my goal at the very beginning. But I'll tell you, when I got that idea for a book, I was just obsessed. I was compelled. There was just nothing that was going to stop me from writing this book. I have to tell you, my husband ate so much carry-out salmon from Whole Foods that the cooking just stopped on this.
Okay.
Working all the time. And that book turned out to be Prime Time, which won the Agatha for Best First Novel. And that was the beginning of my career in crime fiction. And, you know, I'll tell you this, my husband and I don't celebrate the anniversary of the day we met. We celebrate the anniversary of the day before we met. And we call that You Never Know Day, because you never know what wonderful thing is around the next corner. And that
I
is
love that.
entire life has
been. Yeah, poster child for bravery. That's neat.
Masha, that's so nice. Thank you, Renee. It's so nice to see you. It's really so different, Margaret, to be in. Thank you. It's really just so different to be in this position, answering questions. I have to, you and I have worked together for 5 years now. Think of all the people, the writers that we've talked to and gotten to know.
Quite a few, and quite a few stories from the trenches is what I've heard. So it's lovely to get to. I've made my little list, and so I've got some fun ones that relate, some to your book, some to your writing, some to the bigger picture. What about the thrill of pub day? Has it changed over the years for this 16th pub day? So first beginning, the naivete, the excitement, the nerves, and then now where you're like, I got a schedule, I got the next one, I know what's going to happen, I know, where I'm headed. It's a different feeling.
I mean, that's such an interesting and thought-provoking question, isn't it? Because there are elements of pub day that are the same. I mean, the terror is one, the joy, the idea of that here is a thing, here is a book that is not going to be any different from what it is. It is, here are the pages and here are the words and here's what it is and here's the cover and here's the incredibly cool spine. Do you see that?
Yeah.
But the idea of a novel, what happens on pub day is that I have invited people to dance, is what has happened. And now on pub day is when I see whether they want to dance with me.
Whether your dance card is full. To use a very outdated metaphor.
Yes, but I mean, isn't that the thing? Because as an author on pub day, my pub day is September the 9th. Remember this, just keep that
1 week, 1 week.
1 week, I know. So it feels like it feels far away and like in 1 second. I've spent so much time and so much care on this book. And this is the moment, that I'm offering it to you. And I'm really convinced that books are not fully formed until the reader reads it. I'm saying, here's a cool story. Here's a fast-paced, page-turning cat and mouse thriller. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
You relate to the characters. I want you not to put the book down. I want you to miss your stop on the subway because you're reading this novel. But when the book comes out, I'm thinking, are people going to like it? I mean, it's no different from like grade school.
Yeah.
I hope you like this. And that's such a...
Check this box if so.
Do you
leave a review?
Yes, no.
Yeah, 5-star review if so.
I love that. That is so apropos for this. And so every pub day, getting back to your question, every pub day has that same disequilibrium that we just
risk. Yeah.
Nothing is possible and nothing is possible and you can't do anything about it and you can do everything about it and all that at once. And it goes, one of the best pieces of advice that anybody ever gave me was at my wedding. I know this seems like it isn't parallel, but it really is. One of the best pieces of advice a person gave me was at my wedding to pretend to be talking to someone and just watch what was going on so you don't miss your own wedding. Just take it all in and be present in it. And that's what I've sort of tried to learn when it comes to a book launch, is that it's terrifying and it's wonderful and it's scary and it all goes by real fast. And will people be there for all this could be years? Will people be at my events? I want you to go to my events page on my website, not right now, but when this is over, and look at my events, because I know I will be near you, not you, Susie Baldwin. I'm not coming to Seattle this time, but we'll make it happen.
Sharon Bishop says you're coming to An Unlikely Story. She's going to see you there. So that's exciting.
I'll be An Unlikely Story next Monday, interviewed by Jeff Kinney, who wrote the Wimpy Kid book. And he's also amazing, the owner of the bookstore. So that is quite an honor. And
goals,
then
right?
I'm sorry?
Goals.
Oh, goals.
To own your own bookstore. Yeah.
And his book's gorgeous. If you've never been to An Unlikely Story in Plainville, Mass, it is amazing. And then on Tuesday of the week, I'll be at the Plymouth Public Library with book club. store book club, and that's great. And then on Wednesday, I'll be at the West Newton Cinema in West Newton, Massachusetts, at the movie house with Lisa. And we're having a big mystery night at the cinema. And I can almost see the movie theater from my window, and my name is marquee of the movie theater. It is, I mean, talk about a dream come true.
So cool.
I always wanted to be a movie star when I was 9, and this is like the closest I'm going to get to it. So like 1,000 pictures. So I'll be at all those events. But when my first book came out, Primetime, I was only happy. And I do think that that's what's evolved over the years, that now that I'm experienced and my 16th book is coming out, I'm supremely and superbly happy. It just got chosen as an Amazon editor's pick, and that is great, and a starred review from Library Journal. But as an experienced author now, I know all the things that can go wrong. And so the sort of pure, naive bliss of the pub day for my first novel, I still hold in my heart. But now that I'm older and wiser, now I see, how many moving pieces and how many parts and how much readers matter and how much bookstores matter and how much libraries matter and how much the timing matters. My book, and I'll talk about it in a minute, is about a book tour, a weaponized book tour from hell. And now I know, and from reading this, that this is extremely realistic, not, knock on wood, not really realistic.
I'm seeing questions in the comments that are relating to blue earrings. Is that from the book?
Yes.
Is there some, is there like a little bit of a Easter egg on the comments? That's fun.
Character Tessa Calloway gets sent a pair of periwinkle blue earrings. Tessa Calloway, the main character. And should we go there now? Should we talk about this now?
Yeah. Give us the resume of the book, and then I have a question about it being meta for you. Probably not for the readers, but for you. Yeah.
Well, for readers too. I bet. I wonder about this. Talk about that. So all this could be yours. It's a fast-paced, page-turning cat and mouse thriller. If you like Harlan Coben, Lisa Scottolini, Lisa Jewell, Ruth Ware, this is your kind of book. All this could be yours stars Tessa Calloway, who is a mom and a wife and a debut author who has written a surprise best-selling novel. And as a result, she is sent on a glamorous national book tour where she's greeted with adoring fans and standing room only audiences. And it's just as lovely as anything could possibly be.
Pure bliss.
What? Pure bliss.
Pure bliss.
Problem is, she soon begins to realize that she might have a stalker, somebody who is out to ruin her career and also destroy her darling family that she's left back home, her husband and 2 kids. And what makes it even worse is that she begins to fear that this problem on tour, this potential danger, this sinister threat is her fault, that it might be the result of a Faustian bargain, what really felt like a deal with the devil that she made some years ago. And she fears that this deal is about to come due. So what starts out as a glamorous nationwide book tour turns into a cross-country cat and mouse chase with the author running for her life, just like regular book tour. And it is called All This Could Be Yours. It's super meta and it's super personal. The perils of being an author, Trisha Blanchett should know. Yes, Susie Baldwin says, I love this book so much. I will say it's brilliant. Thank you. Because, and I know we'll talk about the meta part, but the thing about it is the scenes that take place in present time, all of them, it's a book tour. So they all take place in an airport or on an airplane or in a hotel or in an Uber or at a bookstore or at a library. Those are the only settings. And so for a fast-paced, page-turning, ticking clock thriller, that structure really works.
Yeah.
But also turned out to be sort of a love letter to independent bookstores, and a love letter to libraries, and a love letter to writers, and a love letter to readers, because every single one of those elements plays a huge role in this novel. And I really cried at the end, because crying at the end of writing a thriller doesn't seem very logical, but because because it was so deeply felt, because it really made me tap into the my feelings and my true emotions that happen when you're writing a book, when there's pressure from the publisher, when there's pressure from your family, when you're balancing your career and your personal life, all those sacrifices, when your dreams come true, and yet how far will you go to protect them? And it really turned into a different, bigger book than I thought it was. Very emotional for me.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it made me think of Being John Malkovich. If you ever saw that movie where it was like he was in it, but he was directing it, but he was in his head, and that's the sort of thing. So it was like the twistiness. So yours are really good of it, and how,
well, it was really understandable. It makes it really, it was fun to write, because I'm an author with a book called All This Could Be Yours. And I will be on tour with a book called All This Could Be Yours, which is about an author on tour with a book called All This Could Be Yours.
Oh my God. That's why I was thinking it'd be hard to get your head around in the beginning.
Yeah. And so really funny. And I know my editor and I started talking about it as my book and Tessa's book, because
there you go.
In Tessa's book, what happens, and in my book, what happens. It's not a real book in a book like some books are. You'll get what Tessa's book is about, but there's not big chunks, not even small chunks of Tessa's book. It's just, you sort of feel like you already know what the book is, and you're with her fans, and you're with her readers, and you're with the booksellers and the librarians in the throes of loving her novel. But the thing that was so interesting to me about it was it came from real life. And that was the thing that was so surprising about it. You think, where do you get a good idea? How does that even happen? And I was signing books at Poison Pen Bookstore in Scottsdale, which you all, when I look over here, I'm looking at the comments. When you all know and love, Poison Pen Bookstore in Scottsdale, that's owned by Barbara Peters, who is such a mentor and the doyenne of the industry. And I signed a book saying, thank you. So it was so wonderful to see you in Scottsdale, is what I wrote. So wonderful to see you in Scottsdale. Then I put the date, then I signed my name. And as I handed the reader the book, I thought, oh, I've just given her an alibi, a really good alibi, because that book proves that I was in Scottsdale, that she was in Scottsdale, that we were together, and the date. Right. So an alibi. And I started thinking about, what other things, all of us authors, you've done it, Margaret, write in books that seem very benign and very sweet, like, thank you so much for a wonderful evening, or thank you so much for everything. And so I started thinking, what if somebody took their inscription that said, thank you so much for a wonderful evening, and said, oh, so you know what she means by that. Here's what that evening was. They could just concoct some incredibly sinister, ugly, nasty, gossipy story about what that inscription meant. And I would never know. I would have no control over what someone said my inscription meant. And suddenly, everything on book tour turned out to be terrifying. Everything I started weaponizing book tour totally. And I started thinking, I said to you not 30 seconds ago, come see me on Monday at An Unlikely Story at 7:00. So now you know where I'm going to be on Monday.
Yeah.
And you also know where I'm not going to be. I'm not home at that time.
Right.
I started thinking about the vulnerability of authors. You've lived this, Margaret. Every single thing we do is on Instagram and Facebook, and our schedule is on our website, and here I am at the airport at gate D42. And I think, really, you want to say that? Because fan comes from the word fanatic.
Fanatic, yeah. Well, that's why you post it after the fact, so that you're no longer there, and so it's safer. I'm constantly hearing stories like that. So yeah.
100%. But we're so used to, I want you to know that that Newtonville Books is bringing me and Lisa Gardner to
Right.
West Cinema. I want you to know
Right.
that up all over the place. And it's the same, as being a television reporter. People recognize me. People know where I am. I embrace that. I love that beyond anything. But on the other hand, people know where I am. And so also people know who my husband is. And vulnerability that we authors have, not only ourselves, but everybody who works with us and everybody who knows us and our family, that's all part of this world. As wonderful as it is, as much as I embrace and adore and look forward to book tour, it is craziness, it is fun, it is fast-paced, it is so high stakes. But in all this could be yours, Tessa Calloway, the main character, is the sole breadwinner of her family. So if she's homesick, it doesn't matter. If she's rushed and crazed and starved and exhausted, it doesn't matter. She needs to sell books. And the problem is that Tessa has a secret, that deal with the devil, nobody else knows about but her, she thinks. And there's that moment, that we've all been involved in, when at the end of a book event and someone says, anybody have any questions? And there's that little silence where the author always is thinking, I hope the person isn't going to ask me the one thing that I don't want them to ask, right? Please don't do that. And that's what happens to Tessa. So all of that vulnerability, all of that fear, all that openness, all of that is all part of book tour as well. As well as, people give her periwinkle blue earrings because she always wears periwinkle blue earrings. So
that's a fun detail. Yeah.
Mary
had a solution for your being away from home, which was talking about the big dogs and the dog sitter who were at home, which is great. I like that a lot.
I love that, Mary. That's great. Yeah, we just got a wolf, as a matter of fact, a trained wolf.
There you go. Do you have in real life best book tour experience, worst book tour experience? I know there's an array on probably each end of the spectrum, but any you can pull from the bag to wow the readers?
So, the great ones, when you walk into the room and there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people.
Everyone totally have your back.
Yeah. There is nothing in the universe that is better than that, especially since, we've all had the experience. My husband and I will drive to a library and it'll be snowing and you get to the parking lot and there's not one car in the parking lot. And you just think, oh, this is not going to be good. I had a worst experience. I don't know if it's the worst, but it is right up there with the bad ones. One of my early books, they had invited me to come to do a signing at Barnes and Noble. And it was a big, big Barnes and Noble, a big, gorgeous Barnes and Noble, big, beautiful signing. And at that time, Friday night signings at Barnes and Noble were the place to be. Everybody would go to this particular Barnes and Noble on Friday night after work. I don't know. And it was just a big deal. So I was so excited about going to this. And I, looked forward to it. And the bookseller said, I hope we don't sell out of books, because I know.
Yeah.
So I was really excited. And, the Red Sox got into the World Series.
Oh, wow.
Opening game.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not only the night of my book event, but at the very moment of my book event. And Margaret, that bookstore was you could have bowled in that place. It was all the employees were in the back room watching the game. My husband was in the back room watching the game. There was just nobody in all of Boston or Massachusetts who wasn't watching television. There was nobody at my event. And that's just going to happen. It's just, once I was in Houston.
You should tell the Red Sox fans, hey, I sacrificed. You owe that to me because of Murphy's Law. So, pay up, get my book.
True. A pretty elaborate thought process for most people. Although I'm with you on anything. I'll take anything. Once when I was in Houston, there was honestly, I couldn't have been actually, but it felt like a monsoon where the weather was so awful that I took an Uber from the hotel to the bookstore. I could not open the door of my Uber because the rain and wind were so strong. This does not encourage a lot of people to come out to the event. So again, for better or for worse, and I don't want to jinx anything, so knock on a million pieces of wood, but it's just que sera, sera. I mean, there at some point, you can't do anything about the weather. You can't do anything about whatever happens in the universe or whatever. You just have to, like, one step at a time, see what happens. And it's easier to be sanguine about it now than it is when I'm, stuck in wherever and worrying. But I just try to keep some equanimity about it and keep a balance about it in the midst of my excitement and delight.
Right. Excellent. So I've got another question about your best fangirl moment, either when you were a fangirl for someone else that you got to meet, or when someone came up to you and had a particularly fabulous story about reading every one of your books and loving all the characters. But I did want to remind people, I don't think we mentioned that we are doing a giveaway today. So if you want to get a comment in, get into the giveaway by leaving a comment or a question, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can towards the end. But yes, we're doing that today. So
this is so wonderful. Thank you. And when I look over here, I'm looking at all of your comments. It's so nice. It's so nice to see you all here today. I feel so honored that you have all come today. It's really lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. So best fangirl moment.
I'll tell you what it is. No, it's the same. I remember so totally. It was my book Primetime. I mean, I've had many, many lovely, lovely moments when Lee Child offered to interview me for one of my first audiobooks. That was quite amazing. People have been, beyond fantastic. But my first book, Crime Time, I was at Crime Bake, which is a crime fiction convention in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
and hundreds of people in a wonderful event. And I was sitting at a table by myself, and I felt a tap on my shoulder, and I heard someone say, "Could you sign your book for me?" And I turned around, and it was Sue Grafton. It was Sue.
Oh my gosh!
My book, Sue Grafton asking me to sign her book, and thanks to Providence or whatever it was that happened, someone was standing there with a camera and got this look of joy on my face. It is one of the best pictures that I've loved beyond anything, of just disbelief and joy, and me signing this book for Sue Grafton. And we got to be friends over the years. I still miss her now. She's just so wise and so lovely and so funny. But that moment, I thought, this is as hilarious as anything could possibly be. Sue Grafton is asking me to sign my book to her. So that was
lovely. Yeah. What Kim said, I'd scream. You probably had like an involuntary shriek.
Yes.
I love it.
I think there was some of that. I think.
Yeah, of course.
But this picture captured my absolute delight.
Have you put it on Instagram? Yeah. Have you ever shared it? Okay, I'll have to go look for that. That sounds really great. You use fabulous words that I don't hear often in conversation. Just today, we've heard equanimity and doyen, which I love. So how about a word from like the inside of the biz, either the journalism biz or the writing, publishing industry? What's a word that you would only know what it means on the inside?
That's a really interesting and complicated question. We were talking today about somebody was saying that an idea had to be evergreen. And I thought, and I said, and I realized that and then somebody in the chat put, "Could you please explain evergreen for somebody?"
Evergreen. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And in television and in book world, an evergreen idea means something that always works. Just like, like an evergreen that never loses its leaves, that always stays green.
Right.
Always go. You can, if an idea is evergreen, it will hold up under any circumstances, and in any incarnation. Right. I remember though, when I started in publishing, I was thinking about all kinds of as an author, thinking about all kinds of things. And I remember somebody saying to me, well, you can write a good book, that's for sure, but you never know about the distribution. And I thought, distribution. And I'd never, will your book be in bookstores? Will your book be in schools? Will your book be in libraries? How is it there? And I never thought, distribution is, not a very difficult or complicated word, but in the context of the publishing world, it becomes really, really critical. Because if I go on my book and people say, I can't find
where,
So, and the same as discoverabilities, discoverability that we talk about all the time. The idea of discoverability became paramount in my mind when I started working in publishing, because how do you know where a good book is? How do we hear about a good book? And I remember when I was president of Sisters in Crime, National Sisters in Crime, some years ago, they had asked for a study of why people buy the books they buy. Big, complicated consulting firm had done this in-depth analysis. And when they told me about this, I said, well, word of mouth. And they're like, yeah.
How do you know? Oh my gosh.
However much you
pay for that,
sister, however much you paid, I would take half of that. I'm sure it'd be fine. But this is what Crime Time is about, right, Margaret? This is what Mighty Blaze is about discoverability. And that's why, you and I have been here for 5 years saying, how about this book? How about this book? How about this book? And now we're saying, how about this book?
How about this book?
Very happy to do so.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. I always think of the phrase deckled edges. I have a friend who liked that term, the uneven edges on the end of a book that they used to do in publishing. And she used that for her blog. And I thought, deckled edges, it has such a nice ring to it. So that was something I didn't understand at the beginning. But yeah, it's fun. Is it time to take some
viewer
questions?
I see people say that they've, like Shannon Hansen says, I pre-ordered a signed copy. Thank you. I have to tell you, and we should talk about this, pre-orders of books and reviews. This is unbelievably important, you all. And I know you all, I know you all know this.
Or what is this? It's the K-pop heart. There we go.
I've just learned something new.
Yeah, there's this to make a heart, right? But there's like a way to do your fingers so the outline is also a heart, like that. And that's what they do in K-pop for I Love You fans. Thank you. They do a little heart with their fingers. So.
Where else but Crime Time with Hank and Margaret would you learn this? This
Korean pop music, in case that just completely went over your head.
This is complete cultural spectrum
education
here.
For sure.
A pre-order, you're still going to get the book on pub day. You can't get the book before pub day, except here. If you put in a question or a comment, you might win one. But if you don't win it today, if you pre-order a book, what that means really is that you're saying to the publisher, I care about this book. I support this book. I'm enthusiastic about this book. I can't wait to read this book. And it's like you're voting for the book by pre-ordering the book. You're voting for the book because you're not paying for it then. You'll pay for it when you get it. It's just a question of support. Reviews, you all. I mean, it makes publishers and booksellers and libraries are counting the reviews. Online booksellers count the reviews. There's systems and algorithms that kick you into a different a different level if you have a lot of positive reviews, and will plummet you to the bottom for a bad one. So readers are holding, no pressure you all, but readers are holding our lives in their hands by their pre-order votes and by their positive reviews. And I know people think, oh, it won't matter if I do that. It really does matter. It really does matter.
Yeah. Dibs. That's the pre-order. Dibs. I want it. Yeah. Oh, we've got a question from Catherine Holm. Thank you for the question. Hank, what do you hope people feel when they read this book? A thoughtful bro question. Yeah.
A thoughtful bro when I started writing the book, I didn't know what I wanted people to feel at the end. I knew it was about someone, a woman, a mom, a wife who followed her dreams. But if there's a Hank DNA to my novels, including All This Could Be Yours, it's that a smart, savvy woman with a dream gets the rug pulled out from under her and has to regain her equilibrium, has to get her power back, has to become empowered. And that's what I hope people feel at the end of the book. I want you to feel like, yeah, that's exactly what should have happened. I want you to be surprised and delighted at my inevitable but shocking ending.
Inevitable but shocking. I love it.
Because you could have figured it out if you only did, but you didn't, I promise. When I finished this book, when I finally figured out the ending, I was by myself here in my study and I stood up and applauded. I'm like, yes, I figured that out. I was so happy. So I want you to be happy and satisfied with the ending. And I also want you to think about following your dreams and how it can come true, and how if you try something, it can work, and how by your own savvy and wit and intelligence and determination, how powerful you are. The idea of inspiration and empowerment, I know it's a thriller, but the idea of sort of inspiration and empowerment is very important to me. And I want you to feel, that if Tessa could do this, you can too. And we all can, because Tessa is like all of us. She has a life that she is living, and she has a dream, and she's determined to follow it.
Yeah. I love that. You can have whatever emotions and whatever genres. We're not picky. Yeah. Yeah. Ellen is asking, hi, Blazer, Ellen. Have you ever considered writing a nonfiction crime book? I think this is a leading question.
I did that every day for 43 years. I wrote a story. I wrote a television story every day for 43 years. That was essentially some, not every day as I got to be an investigative reporter. So some were much longer, but that, Ellen, if I had let me put it this way. I did do that. Actually, let's put it this way. Yeah. I did do that. I did write the story of Casey Anthony as the true crime sort of in cold blood version of the Casey Anthony story. And I loved it. It's a book you'll never read, because when Casey Anthony was acquitted, even though my book was all finished and ready to go, and they were going to publish it the minute it was a collaboration of a publishing company and NBC TV, that the minute she was convicted, they were going to publish that book, but she was acquitted. And so they didn't need the book anymore. So they just didn't need the book anymore. But that was absolutely, that was my version of narrative nonfiction of the Casey Anthony story. And I worked on it so hard and for so long, and it was really good, you all, I can say that. But because you can make lemonade, my book, Trust Me, is an outgrowth. My first standalone, Trust Me, is an outgrowth of that experience about a true crime writer who is writing the story of a woman charged with murder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And wonders how you can write true crime if you can never know the truth. So I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for the
lemonade.
Lemonade. Exactly.
I was just wondering about, because I think all the books that I've known you to publish since I've known you are standalones, but your first were a series. And I was wondering if you had a preference now for writing series or standalone. Because I passed your information on to my brother-in-law who's visiting. And so he was looking you up. We were going through all the titles and stuff. And he said, oh, this is a series. And I was like, wait, series? What? Yeah, it reminded me.
My first 4 books were a series about a television reporter in Boston, Charlotte McNally, who is smart and savvy and successful, but she fears she's growing too old for her job and wonders what happens if you're married to your job in television and the camera doesn't love you anymore. You can see that I really scraped the bottom for that idea. So that was sort of
where
fun.
Did that come from?
Really hard. So those are fun, fast-paced, sort of Nick and Nora Charles kind of a lighter sensibility of mysteries, and I did 4 of those. And then I wrote 5 of the Jane Ryland, Jake Brogan novels, which are dual point of view investigative thrillers. Jane Ryland is an investigative reporter in Boston. Jake Brogan is a really cool Boston homicide detective. And their stories intertwine. They're having a secret affair, but that no one can know about. But Jake is always on the trail of a gruesome murder, and Jane is on the trail of a big investigative story. And those 2 segments intertwine in each story.
Oh,
so,
nice.
And then I started writing after the Casey Anthony fiasco or delight. I started
You're
writing, right?
Delight.
Okay.
Okay.
Been standalone since then.
Okay. Nice. So both, right?
Both. Yeah. I mean, I quickly, because we're superly running out of time. In a series, it's great because you have your main character, you have her job, you have her goals, you know, her world, you know, everybody around her. All you really have to do is come up with a new adventure for them. Right? You just have a new adventure. Oh, I want to be with Kinsey Malone. I want to be with Jane Ryland again. But the problem is for the author,
you're penned in.
Well, you're penned in, but the tension of the novel can't come from the mortality of the main character, because Jane Ryland is not going to die. No matter what kind of terrible stuff happens, she's going to make it because she's got to come back in book 4. And the reader knows that. So the task for the author is to come up with some story that's personal enough and high stakes enough to get you to care and to get that main character to be compelled to do something about it. And that can get hard. That can be hard, especially since, for instance, if there was a body in my backyard, I would just call the police. You know, I wouldn't say, "Ooh, I better find out." I'm not going to do that. So
better bury it and tell a friend.
And so that's the problem of a series, that it has to be somebody who would repeatedly find a disaster, and moreover, they can't die. That's a challenge. That's a massive challenge. In a standalone, though, there is the difficulty of that you have to create a brand new character, brand new secondary characters, brand new world, brand new desire, brand new motivation, brand new problem, brand new stakes, brand new everything, new, all new. But anything can happen. Anybody can start and turn out to be bad. Anybody can start it to be bad and turn out to be good. Anybody can be lying. Anybody can be guilty, and anybody can die. Anybody can die. And that's the power of a standalone, because you, as readers, you don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm saying to you, just watch me. You will never guess what's going to happen in this book. And the stakes, and a character you love can die.
Right. The discovery writer in you and in me, I feel like that's the way we would list, is like, I want anything to be up for grabs. That's a little fun part.
I am a discovery writer. In every one of my standalones, things have happened that I think, oh my golly, are you kidding me?
Nice.
That's what happened in All This Could Be Yours throughout.
Nice. Yeah, at least you don't get the murder rate of Mrs. Fletcher's Cabot.
Yeah, don't be a dinner guest in Cabot Cove, because you're the next to go.
There you go.
Oh, Margaret, we are running out of time.
Is it time for the Wheel of Fun?
It is time for the Wheel of Fun. It is time for the Wheel.
Right. There's so many names today. I know I saw Randy and Robin say that they did not want to win because they have the book. So let's see what it lands on.
Oh,
Ellen.
Ellen. Ellen is a blazer.
Okay.
The book anyway. I almost said a real person, but Ellen is real as real can be, and I'll be on her show in a couple of weeks, so do not miss that. Kathy, Patricia, yay! That's so great. Thank you, and thanks to all who put up questions and put all the wonderful adulation in. I'm looking at your comments right now, and I will tomorrow on the airplane. I'm going to New Orleans to BoucherCon, so tomorrow on the airplane, I will look at your comments and answer them all, because I can't tell you how happy I am that you are.
That's the lovely part on book tour, when all the work goes out and you wait, and then the adoration comes in, and you could just sort of bask in, like, yes, people are enjoying my gift to them, you know?
I'm looking forward to the basking. One can only hope. can only hope that it would happen. I know Ellen will put a link in the chat to when she is interviewing me. She does a show on Mighty Blaze about debut authors. And since my book is about debut authors,
Okay, nice. I love it.
we figured we
Good
could
lead in.
So she'll ask all kinds of different questions, and we'll give away another copy of this book on that show. But meanwhile, no pressure. It's just my career. Run, 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 click, 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 and get your copy of All This Could Be Yours.
That's lovely. Well, I'm not going to use your signature sign off, Hank,
Well, you know what,
because I don't want to use your special words. So.
But you know what? You know what we should do is remind people that I am on book tour starting next week.
Yeah.
And so there'll be a couple of weeks where there's no crime time. I'm not going away. I'll be here, but I just can't do it from an airplane. I have tried to juggle a lot of things, but I don't think I can do that. So we'll put it on a little bit of a hiatus while I'm on book tour, and then we will let you know when I'm back. We've scheduled a lot of wonderful books in the upcoming year. So don't go away. I'll be back after book tour. If you are anywhere near anywhere that I'm going to be on book tour, please find me. Go to my events. I would adore to see you there.
Yay. And after this book tour, we'll be right back. There's my sign off.
I love it. Margaret, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Thank you for doing this. You're wonderful.